I mean, walking back in, it almost felt like it was unfamiliar. It was strange. Like I was telling Dove, Maggie, you and I talked about it a little bit before, like walking back into the studios where, I mean, you and I, we've been working here for years,
Yep.
right? Whether it be CBS Sports Radio, The Fan, and multiple different jobs, obviously. But
All different times of the day.
no doubt about it. So, but you walk back in for the first time, and it's a little bit weird. It really is. It's a little odd, a little strange. There's not many people in the building, not many people in the newsroom. It's a skeleton crew. We were targeted for this date to be back in studio. I mean, traffic wasn't all that bad. It's as hot as anything outside this morning. I'll tell you that. But it's nice to be back. A little odd to get back. But it's always good to be back in studio and good to see you, good to work with you. And obviously, we're not working over Zoom, not communicating through the modern technology, and we're sitting in the same studio. So it's all good.
It is. Mine wasn't so much about getting here today and now commuting from New Jersey, because that's where I live. The last time we were here, I was living in Washington Heights. So this is a little different, of course. But last night, I was getting like before the first day of school vibes.
Yes.
I'm like, why am I getting first day of school vibes when we've been doing this show every day for the last year and a half? And so I was like, man, do I have like everything set to go? I got my backpack. Do I have my Metro card? Like, am I good here? And turns out I am. And we're back now. And I wish that we could be like in a more celebratory mood. We walk in and the Yankees are 6-game in the loss column back. And they got totally, thoroughly, completely dusted over the weekend in Boston. And the worst part about it, most, is I can't even say I'm surprised.
I'm surprised they lost the way they did. I mean,
really? They've been losing this way all season.
No, I get it. They won 3 series going into that Red Sox series. We talked about it on Friday, Maggie, about the different vibe around this Yankee team. Had taken 2 or 3 from the Royals, had taken 2 or 3 from the A's, swept the Toronto Blue Jays up there in Buffalo. And you said, all right, well, the Yankees are playing a lot better baseball going into Fenway Park. We talked about the rivalry as well, and I'm surprised the style and fashion which this Yankee team lost. I mean, Garrett Cole was terrible. Oof. I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, we can talk about how big of a gamer he is. I saw the pregame yesterday, Jack Curry going through it, and not picking on Jack at all, because he was going through the spin rates and, the whiff rate and the swing miss rate, all of these things with Garrett Cole, but he's been still effective, and that Garrett Cole's still going to be a very good pitcher. Well, he wasn't yesterday, for the Yankees against the Boston Red Sox, and I get it's just one start. It's not going to define him, but he was really, really bad. This Yankee offense was really bad.
But it's not just one start, Moose. If we just want to pause on Garrett Cole for a moment, this start was terrible, yes, and they needed him because you'd already lost the first 2 games of the series that were close. At least the score will tell you that they were close. You have your ace on the mound. You expect him to be the stopper. But you go back through his last 5 starts, basically his splits in June. This is not the same pitcher that we were watching in April,
but he's been
May.
Effective.
He was
effective against Minnesota. I mean, he's been effective here.
But his ERA in June is a 4.65. And we've talked about how he does not have the swing and miss stuff. He had 62 strikeouts in 6 starts in April and May. I mean, he has 67 combined with May and June, halfway through May and the rest of June. I mean, he's already given up 5 home runs. Did you
expect
9
him to be
home
that
runs
bad
in June.
Yesterday?
No, God, no.
I mean, you didn't expect him
but
to be.
But he's been trending in a certain way.
No, I get it. He's different. I mean, he's different than where he was in April, right? His spin rate is down. I mean, he's not getting the swings and misses, so he's a different pitcher. And I think we all have to understand that he's a different pitcher now. I didn't expect him to be as bad as he was yesterday afternoon. It's fair he's not the same. We've talked about the fact that he's not the same, right? And the Garrett Cole apologists are going to be like, oh, he's going to be A-okay. Well, the Yankees paid the amount of money for the guy that had 326 strikeouts in 2019, Maggie. We talked about that at the time. That is not going to be the pitcher that they're going to see here. Can he be competitive? Can he be good? Can he be very good at times? Can he still be an all-star? Yeah, I mean, because Garrett Cole is not without talent. There's not a guy that was propped up just by using spider tack. But the issue you have is when he doesn't have it, his mistakes are going to get absolutely pounded. And you saw that in Fenway Park yesterday afternoon against the Boston Red Sox, because he can't make up with movement the stuff that where he's not hitting the spots in the strike zone that he needs to hit, and he was bad. Overall, this Yankee team was bad to where you get to the point now where, I mean, conversations about Aaron Boone, something we talked about 3 weeks ago before the Minnesota Twins series. Conversations about Brian Cashman. What's wrong with the Yankees? Joel Sherman writing the column in the New York Post. How do you go out there and fix this Yankee team? The conversations about calling up Estevan Florial. They're too right-handed oriented. Well, I mean, all of these things we've been talking about for quite some time with this Yankee team. It was abated a little bit because they had played well over 3 series and had been successful in those 3 series. Well, they go up to Fenway Park and they got their rear end handed to them against a Red Sox team. You had no expectations coming into this year that Boston was going to be any sort of good.
Well, what's really alarming is that it feels like their good spots now feel more like the exception, not the rule. Because even when they were winning games, and we were talking about that stretch that they had in May, and they were able to rattle off like 19 out of 27 or something like that, and they were looking really good. But think about how they were doing it. It's not like they were tearing the cover off the ball. Offense was still down. They were getting some timely hits, and the pitching was fantastic. Well, the pitching, is now taking a little bit of a hit. They're still admirable for sure, but you had Domingo Germán, who got lit up in the first inning. Garrett Cole gets lit up in the first inning. Jordan Montgomery did his job. The bullpen has been good, but you had Kluber, who now is not going to be back until September, according to Brian Cashman over the weekend. The Severino setback is obviously not what you want. He's going to be a month delayed because of the groin. So many things here. We're still waiting for Darren O'Day to come back and Justin Wilson. Meanwhile, there's Adam Ottavino on the mound, making righties look silly. So it's just a shame because even when they were really good for a spell, it wasn't because it was like, oh, well, here's the Yankees. Here they are. No, the real Yankees in terms of offense that we've seen in terms of all guys hitting with power was really just like the last since Luke Voigt's come back, Moose. I mean, that's really what it's been. The one guy who's starting to look like himself now is DJ LeMahieu. And thank goodness for him because he's come up with some clutch hits for them. But it's all the same issues. Not hitting with runners in scoring position, the grounding into the double plays. I mean, this is just horrendous. And I understand what Aaron Boone is talking about when it comes to the double plays. And he'll say, listen, it generally tends to be that good teams hit into double plays. And that actually makes sense because it means you have a lot of players on the base pass. It means you're generating, hits and you're trying to get guys in scoring position, stuff like that, at least runners on second. You get it. The Houston Astros ground to a lot of double plays. They also have the best run differential in Major League Baseball. And the Yankees have one of the worst. The thing is that the Astros are doing the other side of this. They're hitting into double plays. They're also one of the best teams in baseball at getting runners in, scoring runs. The Yankees are bad. They had 3 extra base hits in this series.
Yeah, terrible.
Oh, my goodness.
Terrible. But what exactly you do? It's gotten to a point where, what David Cohn had to say on the Yes Network was dead on correct. You see the clear differentiation between 2 teams. one team looks like they're sleepwalking, the other team doesn't.
That's what made this worse.
And when you have a Yes Network analyst piling on, and Cohn at times has, gotten slapped on the wrist for maybe being a little bit too negative on the Yes broadcast. And we all like David. He's a very, very intense guy, very pro analytics. He's propositioned himself at times to try and get into, whether it be a pitching coach role or a manager's role. So
yeah, him and O'Neill kind of going back and forth on that was interesting.
You look at what Cohn has to say, and he's not wrong. He's just not. How long do you look at it, Maggie? It's the same conversation that we've had before about Aaron Boone. You blame the players. Well, what goes on the manager? Well, the manager, is he in control of the lineup day in, day out basis? No, not really. He's not because there's other guys that play a role. Well, he's given it. He wants to fire up the team, have, the conversations, the communication with his players. Well, we've seen at times, especially lately with Aroldis Chapman, that wasn't A-OK, and we talked about that last week. Mm-hmm. So you look at Aaron Boone here, when Cohn's taking him behind the woodshed, as he did over the weekend on the S Network, and you look at the comments that Brian Cashman had to say about a week to 10 days ago that we're all in the same boat together. Boone is, in essence, not going anywhere. We're going to fix this problem. But Brian Cashman also admitted that, this team has not been consistent, has not been anywhere close to the team that they expected coming out of Tampa. So I say, well, what gives? At some point, if you're going to correct the problem, you got to get going here because you're clicking off days, you're clicking off series. The Boston Red Sox have now won all 6 times that you faced them this year. They sweep back-to-back series against the Yankees for the first time since 2011. You have Cone ripping, Boone and company over the broadcast on the weekend. You got Cole that looked very, very human in the start on Sunday. The offense is still what it is. They're not a savvy baseball team. They don't have a high baseball IQ. Don't play like it is. I mean, run into base outs on the base pass. Defensive issues as well. Offensively, they're nowhere near what we thought they were going to be. So what exactly do you do with this Yankee team now if you're Brian Cashman? And how steady is the ground that both Cashman and Boone are on? And say Hal Steinbrenner goes to Brian Cashman and says, well, it's time to change the manager. Well, we don't have anybody else. Well, you got to do something because we're clicking off days here. Next weekend's the 4th of July. You look at this team, they've lost 6 straight against the Red Sox, and Boston wasn't expected to be particularly good coming into the year, and they're very good.
I know, well, and that's Boston, I mean, Alex Cora said it. He goes, this was probably the best series that we've played all year, and it hurts more that it's Boston, not just because of the rivalry or whatever, and they're in the division. They kind of are everything the Yankees aren't, and I think that bothers the Yankees. I think Cora is much obviously different than Aaron Boone.
Yeah.
You have the team is aggressive, they're fast. You have a guy scoring from third on a pop-up to first, Moose. I don't know the last time I ever saw that happen. And you just have a team, a lineup that's diversified in kind of what they do. They seem like they're having a good time. They do the laundry cart thing. I mean, the fact that they rolled Jacoby Ellsbury out to honor Dustin Pedroia, if that wasn't a troll job directed straight at Brian Cashman, I don't know what is. That's like 2 rival high schools and you start spray painting the other team's school. Like, I don't know about that. Here's the thing about Cashman. If this is first of all, everything has to be on the table, right? Everything has to be on the table right now. And I'm a Boone defender because I think having that sort of steady approach is actually a good thing. And in baseball, I think that's what teams are looking for. But everything has to be on the table at this point. And the one thing and the one quote that could come back to maybe doom Brian Cashman a little bit, and I don't think he's going anywhere. He's way too invested in the team. He's, every part of it. But if there was going to be one quote, it's going back to last season where he said, we believe this is a championship caliber team. If they miss the playoffs after saying that, that would be very difficult. Because if you think this is a championship caliber team, yet you would miss the playoffs the next year, and you can't even really blame injuries necessarily on it. That is such a huge miscalculation, whether it's, new baseball, no spider tack. I mean, all that stuff is maybe important, but also ancillary. You can't blame that stuff on this many glaring just failures. This is tough. This is a rough spot for the Yankees.
Yeah, tough spot. I hate the comment by Cashman at the time for a group that's never won a World Series, talking about being a championship caliber team. Well, I look at teams that have actually won titles as a championship caliber team, obviously, and they would be champions. So it bothered me at the time. We talked about it at the time. That could come back to haunt Brian Cashman. Listen, he's created this mess. Now the question is he going to be given the wherewithal? And does he have the wherewithal? Is he going to be given the financial freedom to try and fix this mess that is this Yankee team right now? Let's be honest. I mean, we joke around about the 2017 team, right? And you bust my chops all the time about how Yankee fans absolutely adore that team. You know why you like that team? The team was very likable.
Mm-hmm.
Team was an enjoyment to watch. You couldn't wait for the next Yankee game. And obviously it came with the success as well. I get it. And they surprised you with
fun.
that success. And it was a really fun group. This team is complete opposite. It's not a fun group. I mean, it just isn't. I mean, I'm not telling you they don't have likable players on the team. Judge is a likable guy. I mean, you can go through it individually. But am I going to tell you that this is a joy to watch? Like, you can't wait for the next Yankee game? No, I'd tell you the complete opposite. We watch it. I watch it, you watch it. But is this team joyful? No. How many times we get calls from Yankee fans saying, I have a hard time getting through these games watching this team play. I get it. I understand it. Because it's a group that's underwhelming. They play a lot of bad baseball. They play a lot of sloppy baseball. You get a lot of excuse making. And, at some point, the rubber's got to meet the road. You got to start winning some games. And this weekend, they had an opportunity, to kind of be a positive Monday, Maggie. And we're sitting here. The Red Sox got healthy on the Yankees. Cora is a brilliant manager with Boston. They sweep them for the first, back-to-back series for the first time since 2011, and we're back to the conversation about what's wrong with the Yankees. What do you do with Brian Cashman? What do you do with Aaron Boone? And how do you fix this mess? And is this mess worth fixing here in 2021? All of that is on the table for Hal Steinberg, and he wakes up this morning and have his little grapefruit, a cup of coffee.
It's probably like the best grapefruit in the world, though.
Down there in Florida. On his ranch.
Yeah.
On his horse farm.
That's going to be some high-quality granola.
Like, wait a second. Cole was this? 877-337-60.
Hey, Moose, by the way, your tan looks great. That is not coming through on the Zoom call.
Yeah, I got to tell you about my weekend. I had a great weekend.
Oh, good. Better. No rabies and free and clear.
Had an unbelievable weekend. Nice.
You are glowing.
Yes, had an unbelievable Saturday, I'll tell you that.